Welcome everybody to this Zoom called Do You Dare to Change? Whoop, 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 whoop. So I am so happy to have you guys on here from all over the world. I know it's a bit of an awkward time for some time zones, so thank you for coming on. And today's Zoom is being translated into Portuguese and Spanish, so how does it get any better than that? I'm going to attempt to remember and not speak as fast as I usually would if I wasn't getting translation. And hi, Hector. I will post the link in there again. All right, so is there anyone on this that hasn't done any access before? All right, I'm guessing you've all done access then, so you know some of the tools, including the clearing statement. If you don't, however, you can go to theclearingstatement.com and find out what the crazy thing is that I'm going to start saying and probably say a lot during this call. So before we begin, I wanted to start by asking you guys, if you could get anything from this call today, what would it be? That was such an impactful question that, you know, made everyone silent.
You can unmute yourself and just ask.
And it doesn't need to be a fixed thing. I mean, I know with, so this is obviously like a gift Zoom, but we put it together because one of the things that we are creating, and I say we, I mean me and the lovely gaggle of creative people that I work with that are on this call, is a series called Creating a Life That Inspires You. And one of the things that we've been talking about a lot in our conversations and creative meetings is what it is to actually create something that inspires you on a daily basis. And do you dare to change that much? Do you dare to actually choose that? Do you dare to know what it takes? Do you dare to lose what you've decided you can't change? And if you did dare, what would that open up that you haven't considered before? So that's what we were looking at. Oh, but look, there are some comments. Great. So Ava's saying joy. Renata says inspiration. Grant doesn't know much about access. It's okay, Grant. You're going to pick it up really quickly. I've got faith in you. Marie-Laure says that change is okay. And Elizabeth says creative energy. And I know that from the Portuguese and the Spanish side, we've had some comments sent in. And a lot of them were asking to have from this call a lot of information and tools on how to have more ease with money, with business, and with self-abuse that we tend to do so much. Oh, hi, Claudia. Claudia says more fun with choices, and Rosanna says fun. Wow, this is great. Okay, so everything that doesn't allow all of that, will you destroy and create it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and meals. Cool. Shivani says more ease with choice. I think that is probably one of the key things. How many of you have decided that choice isn't really easy? The only time that choice isn't easy is when you've decided you can't choose that thing. So everything that is, times a godzillion, we destroy and create it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, bod and bog, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, we are potent, okay? We are powerful people, beings, whatever you want to call yourself. And when we make a decision about life, about ourselves, we actually start to create that as our reality. Now, I know many of you will have heard your point of view creates your reality. Your reality doesn't create your point of view. But if you take a moment right now, get the sense of something that you've wanted to change, but you haven't really dared to take that leap, like just that full-on leap into the unknown. Now, is that an area where perhaps you, mic drop about choices, where you have decided that that kind of change just isn't possible? So everything that is and everything that brings up for you, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Because if you decide that it's not possible, guess what you're going to start creating? A life where that just isn't possible. So you can use the clearing statement, you can use the tools, you can ask all the questions, but if at the base of it, your decision is this isn't going to happen, guess which one gets to override? The decision. Unless you choose something different. And that is the power of choice. Being willing to choose something different beyond your fixed point of view, beyond everywhere that you are not even allowing yourself to know what it is that you're really choosing, that's what will create something different. Because when we have a limitation, how often do we know that we're limited in the area? Or do we just decide, well, that's just the way it is? Well, I'm just terrible with money, so I'll have to fix the fact that I'm terrible with money. Well, are you really terrible with money? Or if you took one step back, is the decision that you're terrible with money the thing that's making you terrible with money? And if you got clear of that decision and you eliminated that as a limitation, would your money flows possibly change? So everything that is, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and girls. And I realize I've jumped quite far quite quickly. So raise your hand or unmute yourself if you have a question. Otherwise, I tend to just kind of, throw a bunch of things out there. Now, one of the topics that has come up recently in Access during this Australian tour, where everyone is on right now, not everyone, but a lot of people are there, including Gary, Dane, Brendan, and Simone, is the topic of avoidance. And it came up because Brendan Watt, who many of you may know, he facilitates choice of possibilities classes around the world. He started to really recognize in a very dynamic way how many things in his life he had been avoiding. And that's what had been creating a lot of the things that he hadn't been able to change. And what he realized was that what he was avoiding was the things that he had decided couldn't change. And so then he would just avoid those things. Have any of you ever done something similar? Avoided something just because you've decided probably not going to change, so, better just sweep it under the rug. Everything that is, will you destroy and uncreate all of that now, all those points of view and limitations, and just see what else might show up? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So what are you avoiding that if you didn't avoid it would allow you to leap into the possibilities are possible? Everything that is, and everything that doesn't allow it, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Oh, so Grant says, choosing beyond that decision we had already made about the outcome of the choice. Yeah, second mic drop. Exactly. Shivani says, I'm terrible with decisions or choices, or is that a cop-out? Well, you tell me, Shivani, are you really terrible with choices? When you wake up in the morning, do you choose to get dressed? Do you choose to go to work? Do you choose to eat? Do you choose to brush your teeth? Those are all choices. What are you guys defining choice as that it's not? Like some kind of big life-altering decision that you can never go back on, some kind of eternal contract, some kind of thing that's going to be really difficult and hard. Like, what have you misidentified choice as that it isn't? Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and create it. Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So Renata says, I used to remember most of the bad choices, but not the good ones. Yeah, because the good ones are just generally space. That's when you're being you. When you're choosing something that works for you, it's not significant. Something is only ever heavy and significant when it's not your reality, when it's something that isn't working for you. So everything that brings up, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So Shivani says the big life decisions. Yeah, that's what we define choice as. What if choice was as easy as taking a sip of coffee, deciding it's gross, and not taking another sip? What if that's a choice? So what are you avoiding that if you didn't avoid it would give you the choice you say you want and never choose? And everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. I like that this call is becoming a call on choice. But you know, daring to change is daring to choose, quite frankly. So Pamela says, yes, and the so-called bad choices create fear to make choices. Interesting. So one thing that I would love to invite you guys to, which is something that I work on diligently every day, okay? So it doesn't mean I'm 100% there or great at it. I very often suck at it, and very often I also don't. It's following the energy, okay? Now, following the energy is something that you probably heard Access facilitators speak about, and it's basically about following what is true for you and what works for you. Now, how do you know what that is? When you follow the energy, it just means that basically what you're doing is you're following what is light, what's going to create more possibilities, and you're not following the heaviness of things, okay? Because anything that's heavy, anything that gives you a sense of contractedness, all of that stuff actually isn't your reality. It's things that you've learned. It's stuff that you're picking up from the environment around you. It's things from this reality, from society. Okay, for anything to be heavy and solid, basically not your reality. So when we say follow the energy, what it is that if anything is light and expansive, that's something that's going to be ease and joy and true for you. And for anything to be heavy, it's just a lie, okay? It's not true. It's not your world. Now, why am I talking about that? And why is that relevant to daring to change and choice? Now, I'm kind of going to pick a little bit on Pamela here, but thank you so much for that question, Pamela, because Pamela wrote, so the so-called bad choices create fear to make choices. Now, does that give you guys a sensation of lightness and expansiveness and like relief and possibilities, or does it make you feel like you want to crawl into a cave for a week? Yeah, the latter, right? It's more like, oh God, bad choices, fear. That is your indication that that is not true. That is your indication that that is a lie, okay? It's not your indication that you're so limited. It's not your indication that you're so messed up. It's not your indication that it's going to take you 7,000 years to clear and change. None of that. It's just your awareness going, red light, lie, 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 not true, not true. But how often do you go, oh my God, it's so heavy. It must be because I'm so limited. Now let me focus on the heaviness to undo the heaviness. But you can't undo a lie because it's not real. So everything that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Which is why with the question, what are you avoiding? Or whatever the question was that I asked, but along the lines of, what are you avoiding that if you didn't avoid it would give you the choice you say you want and refuse to choose? It's because how much of that is the heaviness that you're going towards, thinking that it's so difficult you can't choose it, rather than recognizing that it's heavy because it doesn't apply to you. It's a lie. It's not true. It's not your reality. So everything that is and everything that brings up, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So thank you, Pamela, for that. So Shivani says potency. Pamela says change. Dare to change is dare to choose, from Albina, yes. And Claudia says, can you talk more about that? About what? I think dare to change is dare to choose. So how many of you have decided that change means getting rid of something? Or what have you decided change is? If you're getting dressed in the morning and you put on a pair of red trousers and you don't like them, what do you do if you're going to change them? Do you cut off your legs? Do you set your legs on fire? Do you take the trousers and then throw them at someone, strangle them with it, and then burn the house down? Or do you just take them off and put on another pair of trousers? Amanda's on. Amanda says, yes, I know, that's what I would love to do too. However, I don't. And I know you don't either. yeah, what if change is actually choice? I mean, you can choose the same thing over and over again. And what if to change it, you don't need to go through and undo all of it? It's like if you choose to drink a latte, to choose something different, do you suddenly, like, you know, somehow try and undo the fact that you drank the latte? Do you try and like puke it up and like go back in time and walk backwards and undo it? And like, no, you just go, oh, I'm going to stop drinking this and I'm going to do something different. And I know I'm giving ridiculous examples here, guys, okay? But I'm doing it because choice is one area that we make so difficult that doesn't have to be. So difficult. And we do not recognize how much we are choosing in our daily lives. But the moment that you start acknowledging all the places that you are choosing, that's where you can actually have more of that. So everything doesn't allow it, will you destroy and create it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, bottom, buckle, nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So how many of you look at the things that you're not choosing rather than acknowledge where you are choosing? So, I mean, when you're basically focusing on something, what happens is you are now giving that way more energy than anything else. And if you focus on what you're not choosing, guess what you're creating more of? More of that. So is it because you're messed up? Or is it because you have an amazing capacity for creation when you put your attention on something that you're just not using to your advantage? Everything that is, will you destroy and create it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pockle, nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So what would happen? So what would happen if you acknowledged all the places that you are actually choosing something greater? Right now, acknowledge, even energetically, it doesn't need to be with your mind, anything. It could even just be the fact that you're on this call and you're asking questions today. That's choosing something greater. Would you allow yourself right now, just for a second, to acknowledge, ask, okay, so where am I actually choosing that I can now acknowledge? And get a sense of that energy, okay? So everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive that, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pockle, nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Because the more that you acknowledge, the more you can actualize that thing that you're acknowledging. Are you acknowledging your capacities, or are you only acknowledging how messed up you are and the mistakes that you've made and the things that you haven't done well enough in? Everything that is, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and buckle, nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So hopefully, Claudia, that addressed your question. And I know I'm going through these questions quite quickly, but I just want to give you guys as much as I can in the time we have available as a little taste, of this very fun topic. So Elizabeth says pain and choose. Ooh, what does that mean? Tell me more, Elizabeth. Grant says, do bad choices exist? Yes, you are bad. Next. I love that. I know that I'm teasing you, but I can torture Grant. I know him well enough that he knows it's not real torture. I mean, yeah, like, oh goodness, humanoids. How much do we try and avoid the bad choices? And I really mean this on every level, guys. I'm not even just talking about, do I sell my house or not sell my house? I'm talking even about like very small things. I mean, I was tidying up my house today. I've decided to do like a big spring clean, which I like to do, a couple of times a year. And I bought a ton of flowers for my house. Like I tend to be a bit of an extremist. So I got a lot of big, fat, juicy flowers. And then there was really no surfaces left to put them on. So I've got some house guests coming over tomorrow, and I started putting the flowers around. I was like, oh God, but does this look bad here? But would this look weird here? But if they come in, what are they going to think of? And then I was like, hold on a second. What? Am I seriously trying to avoid getting this wrong? It's flowers in a house. But I'm giving you guys that example because it seems so silly and trivial, yet how much do we torture ourselves with that on a daily basis? You know, should I wear this? Should I say that? Should I speak up in this meeting? Did I speak up too much? Should I reply to this text now or late? Like all of these things that we have going on that actually stop us from being present. So do any of you guys do that, or was that just me today with my family? I mean, I know that Grant doesn't do it, but I mean, other people. Everything that is, we just trying to create it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, 9 shorts, boys beyond. So are any of you avoiding making a bad choice? Which actually keeps you just not choosing, keeps you stuck in limbo. So everything that is times a godzillion where you destroy and create it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Many years ago when I started facilitating the X-Men classes, I think I started I started Access 10 years ago, so it's probably about 8 or 9 years ago. I remember doing intros, and there would always be like someone who was like a doctor or you know, a psychologist, or like a member of the Ministry of Education of where I was. I don't know how these people were always attracted to the intros, but they were. And I would always walk in going, oh, great, they're probably gonna like send me to some kind of like insane asylum. And so at the beginning, I'd be like, oh God, like, what are they gonna think? Until I started to ask myself, am I willing to get this wrong? If I were willing to get this so wrong today, how much fun could I have? All right, I'm going to try and get this wrong. Not I'm going to get this wrong. I'm going to try, because when you try, it's the pretense that you're going to do it without really doing it. But what if you, for the next week or whatever, everywhere that you notice that you're trying to not get things wrong, ask yourself, or say to yourself, do you know what? I'm going to try and get this as wrong as possible. I'm going to do this as terribly as I possibly can. And watch what happens, because the moment that you give yourself permission, that's when you actually have full choice available. You have the whole panorama of choices available. So when I gave myself permission to get it wrong when I was facilitating the X-Men intros at the beginning, did I get it wrong, or were they actually a lot greater? That was a trick question. Boys and girls, it's the second one. It was a lot greater. So everything that keeps you avoiding getting things wrong, which then makes it so that you then have to pull that energy into your universe to know how to handle it, and then definitely get it wrong from your point of view, will you destroy and uncreate all of that? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. So I kind of talked a lot around that, but hopefully that will contribute. And then other comments. So Claudia says deserving choice. Deserving choice? What is that? So right now, I can see most of you guys, right? You're on camera. Don't worry, I'm not going to call on you to do anything. But are you choosing right now? Are you choosing to look at the camera? Are you choosing to have your hair in a certain position? Are you choosing to maybe put your hand up like this? Did you deserve any of that? No. You know, like, do you deserve to be wearing black, or to have that hair color, or to have glasses or whatever? No, it's a choice. So how many of you are buying all of these insane points of view on what choices from the people that you grew up with? Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. So let's take this one step further. Let's talk about money for a second. Now, don't get all serious on me, because I know how humanoids get with money. But think about the amount of money that you have right now. Do you deserve that, or do you just have it? Which is lighter? You just have it, right? So for what reason couldn't you just have a lot more? So everything that is, where you destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. I am incredibly lucky in the sense that, or at least I consider myself very lucky, because I was born in Colombia in South America, and my father is Colombian. My mum is half Colombian, half English. So she has a little bit of British in her, but for the most part, it's like a very Colombian family. And when we moved to England when I was 3 years old, I obviously started growing up as, you know, like British. And what I recognized was that as I was growing up, I could really choose my points of view. I could really choose my points of view about everything, because I recognized that the people in my life seemed to have points of view based on where they came from. My cousins in Colombia had very, very different outlooks on life than I did, and the only difference was our geographical location, because we were very closely related, you know. And so that was a huge gift to me, because what I realized was that their points of view about money were so different than perhaps some of the points of view that I grew up with in my family, and even more so in England. And, you know, we can go on for 5,000 years talking about all those examples. But what I realized then was there is always going to be somebody who thinks that you are rich in comparison to them. There is always somebody who's going to think you are poor in comparison to them. Are any of those two people right? Or is it just a point of view? What if it's just a point of view? So what if it's about what would you like to choose that would actually create your life a really fun place to be? Because does life get easier when you have money or more difficult? I know some of you want to say more difficult. So everything that is, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And if you did want to say more difficult, was there any heaviness to that, or was that totally light and expansive? So notice again, the heaviness, that is the big alarm of your awareness going, hey, you're lying to yourself. That is BS. Stop it. Okay, that's what that heaviness is. The heaviness is to indicate a lie. The big red sign is not to indicate, by the way, you are super messed up. In case you didn't know, let me make you feel terrible about yourself, loser. No, that's not what it is. It's your awareness going, hello, red light, red light. So everything that is, we destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Grant is always willing to sign up for a little torture from Diva. Oh, I do like torturing, I'm sorry. And Amanda says it didn't take her 1 hour to get dressed today. That's very good. Some other comments, blah, blah, blah. Not blah, 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 but, you know, I'm just looking to see if there are any questions. Oh my goodness. Sorry, some of the comments you guys post. Is it just me, or does Diva's coffee look fantastic? Oh, Erica, thank you. So do you guys have any questions? I know this is like a very quick blast, and really the topic of dare to change. Do you like how I ask you if you have questions and I just start talking so you can't say anything? I will pause in a second. The topic of dare to change really is about life. It's about everything. I know we've received so many questions like, what am I going to get out of this telecall? What am I going to get out of this 12-week series? Because this is an introduction to a 12-week series that I have starting on the 8th of January. And people so often want to know exactly what each call is going to be about. Do you know what, you guys? You tell me. You tell me what it's going to be about, because it's you guys coming on the call that will dictate it. So if you want to talk about money, then come on and talk about money. If you want to talk about your specific business and what's going on, then I dare you to come on and talk about that. If you want to change something that's been going on with your body, with your relationship, or if you just want to know how to like navigate, you know, this crazy reality that we live in, but function from your reality, come on and ask about that, okay? Because this series is literally designed for you. So whatever stuff you have going on, whatever stuff you want to look at, that's what we will look at. And all of it with the you know, from the perspective of, if you could actually choose and change anything, would you? And if so, then what are the steps required? Let's start to look at that and at the practical application of that, so that during those 12 weeks, you can actually begin to implement and institute that and have that start to actualize as a reality for you. So if you guys want to unmute yourself and ask me any questions, feel free. I will read the comments as well. So Grant would like to see Amanda's outfit. Susan says, this conversation is great. Oh, thanks. I'm at a ski resort and staying with a friend that has lots of money. I was talking to her today about creating money, and I'm trying not to make her better than me because she has lots of money and 2 big houses. I'm willing to change and create more money. That is wonderful. Yes, exactly. Cool. How does it get better than that? Erica says, it may be a bit out of topic, but could you speak a little bit about anxiety, and is it related to the avoidance of being wrong? That's a great question, Erica. Well, truth for you, is it about the avoidance of being wrong? Or are you just really, 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 really aware? Because basically what anxiety is 99% of the times, it's a level of psychic awareness that is off the charts. And what you are picking up is all the angst, worry, upset, intrigue from people around you for thousands of miles. And because there's no reference point for that, because that makes no sense in a linear, logical world, and you cannot cognitize it, and you cannot explain it or justify or rationalize it. We just go, I'm anxious, this is mine. So what you want to do is use the tool, who does this belong to, for 3 days straight. So every single time that you start to get anxious, who does this belong to? If it lightens up, just say return to sender. You're basically just getting that energy out of your world. If it gets heavier, say POC and POD, everywhere I bought that is mine, okay? And that will start to eliminate all the places that you're buying that you are that energy. A lot of humanoids, so like the more kind of creative people in the world that always think they're wrong, basically, and they think everyone else must be right, must know something they don't. A lot of them, if they grew up with parents who had anxiety, they will be very skilled at picking up that energy anywhere. So I grew up with a mother who suffers from a lot of anxiety and depression. And so I would walk through the world just convinced that I was anxious all the time or depressed. When I started to use the tools and ask, okay, who does this belong to? In those moments when you're feeling terrible, that's when you want to use it, okay? Not like afterwards when you're fine again. Use it in those moments where it feels like you're going to die. That's when you want to use the tool, because that's when you are shifting the energy. And we can look at that in a lot more detail as well. And I'm pretty sure that I've got a video on YouTube on who does this belong to and on anxiety, but if not, I can create one. I'm doing weekly Facebook Lives, so we can add that to the list of lives. But yeah, hopefully that helps. It's pretty much just that you're very psychic. Sorry. Cool. Pam saying thank you. So Grant saying, does the possibility of right and wrong limit choices? What else is possible there? Yeah, I mean, anything that you try and do from right and wrong, you've basically just given yourself 2 options out of infinite. So, you know, what's going to create greater? Infinite or right or wrong? And I know that I'm really kind of like dumbing it down, but that's practically what we do, you guys. It's like I was torturing myself for about half an hour about these flowers. Why? What a waste of time. And I caught that. But the old me would have tortured herself about that forever, because I'm a perfectionist. And not just the flowers, but probably the email, and then the phone call, and then the invitation, and then the Zoom, and then the telecall, and then the meeting, and then the follow-up, and then blah, blah. You know, and this is where any single place that we are functioning from right or wrong is an area that we're not actually changing. We're choosing the same limitation over and over and over. So do you dare to go beyond right and wrong? Even if you don't know what it looks like. I mean, come on, let's face it. It's not like it's going to get much worse than this, even if it just stays the same. So everything that brings up, put you, destroy, and create it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all 9 shorts, boys, males. That's what I have told myself many times. You know what? What's the worst that could happen? That nothing changes? Great. That it gets worse for a little while? Okay, then I'll just make it be how it is again. And never has that once happened. It always turns out far greater than I imagine. So iPhone says what to do if I'm deciding the possibility or non-possibility of my choices very fast and automatically at the same time as I'm choosing and not even catching it to POC and POD. Well, do you need to catch it to POC and POD, or are you actually just aware of what's going to work for you in those moments? If you're doing it really fast and not even thinking about it, are you doing it from awareness? It's only when you're thinking that you're not doing it from awareness, because thinking is learned. Also, Erica says, too aware, it's too much sometimes. Thank you so much. Get yourself to an X-Men class, Erica. And I've done like about 7 billion X-Men videos online, so I'm sure there'll be something on that online too. And I've got a free ebook as well. So I'm not trying to sell you a class, but if you can get yourself to some kind of class, there are telecourse, there are facilitators all over the world that do it. Of course, she says she's planning to. Oh, thanks. Leandra posted the link to the video on anxiety. All right. So do you guys have any questions? Yay, Renata's going to an X-Men class in Brazil next year, Sao Paulo. We will have dates very soon. Yeah. Cool. So I'm going to leave you guys with this clearing. It's a clearing that I have been running. Let me just find it. Hold on, give me a second. Okay, 2 things. Number 1 is, what can I relax into here that I'm not choosing? Okay, because how often when we want to create change in an area or choose something different, we start this energy. Oh, how am I going to do it? I've got to get motivated. Okay, wait, what do I do? How many questions? Okay, let me ask, what else is possible? How does it get any better than this? What are the infinite possible? It's like, is that the energy of possibility? Not really. A little bit the energy of like mania. I'm kidding. It was just then when I did it. But what you want to do is you want to relax into the possibilities, okay? Just ask, what can I relax into here? For everything. If you'd like to create more money, if you'd like to create more ease with your business, rather than doing this laser focused thing on trying to find the problem, just take a step back and just be with yourself for a second. Make yourself a cup of coffee, pour yourself a glass of wine and ask, okay, so what can I relax into here? And give yourself 60 seconds or 60 whole minutes or maybe even a whole day and just start to relax into that. Because when you relax, are you receiving more or less? I'm hoping you're all thinking more. You receive a lot more, yeah. And do you perceive more or less? Perceive a lot more. So basically, you be a lot more, you receive, you perceive a lot more, which means you can also receive more awareness on what's required. Okay, so if you're the one person that's relaxed in a crazy situation or in a business situation, who's going to be the one person that can actually ask the real questions that will create change? You. Okay, same thing applies to money, relationships, anything you've got going on. So start asking, what can I relax into here? And the other question, let me find it because I've got it here. It's a question that, oh yeah. So what can I be here to take this further than I think it can be? Ask that with your money flows. Ask that with anything that you're choosing. Ask that with your business. I talk a lot about business because I love business. By the way, check out the Joy of Business classes because they do a lot of in-depth stuff. Yeah, so what was the question again? Hold on. See, I've got to write this stuff down because otherwise
What can I be here to take this further? And then...
Thank you. Then I think it can be. See? Teamwork. High five. Yeah, what can I be here to take this further than I think it can be? Because how many of you ask a question and then decide, well, that's probably all that I can do with this right now? No idea. At that point, ask, okay, what can I be here to take this further than I think it can be? So play with those 2 questions. Oh, Marie Law says, I believe relax does not create. Well, Marie, What makes you think that belief has anything to do with anything? So everywhere you guys are making your belief more real than you, we destroy and create all of that. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Oh, you guys are wonderful. Thank you so, so much. Thank you to my amazing, amazing gaggle. We have Leandra, who basically is the boss of everything. And Albina, and we have Grant, and we've got, oh my God, a million people. Maru and Paulina, and we have everyone, and I can't even see the rest of you. We have Vivi, we have, yes, we have Renata, we have 1,000 people. I'm just trying to scroll through your faces, but thank you so much to all of you. Thank you to the amazing translators. And I would love to invite you guys to the series Dare to Change. It starts on the 8th of January. And like I said, the series is about what you want to change. So bring your topics and we will dive into them. And yeah, how does it get better than that? We have a lot of classes coming up. I've got X-Men classes coming up. There's a lot coming up next year. Foundations, intros, creating a life that inspires you. So check out all of that stuff online. And we will be emailing you the recording if you signed up. And thank you so, so much, everybody. And see you somewhere in the world soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Diva.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Diva.
Bye.